Hello guys, it's Easy here again with another Dev Diary, part 2 of the Dev Diary 7. Now I have noticed that the part 1 video was a bit bad, well not really bad, but I had not really a good micro with me, so sadly the sound of my voice was pretty, you could say, silent. While the effect sounds of the game itself was pretty loud. So I've tried to adjust it so at least the sound of the game itself is a bit lower and the sound of my voice is a bit louder. I also want to I'll say a bit sorry because it looks when I was looking at the video it looked I was using always the word of course. Yeah, I will try to not to do this as much as I can, but my videos are very unscripted, are natural. I don't really care so much about scripted videos. I'm not a YouTuber, don't really care about YouTube. YouTube is more for me just to showcase the mod and whatsoever. I leave playing the mod more to YouTubers than myself. I'm not really a natural speaker in that way. So I just, I'm a modder, game developer, so it's much more my kind of cake, as we say. I am going to repeat some stuff that I said in the video that sadly didn't well, you didn't hear them because of the effects of the game. So I am going to repeat it a bit so at least you can understand what's the video about. What I'm going to show today, of course, for the part 2 are the tier 2 French Second Republican troops and the French Second Empire troops, so that's tier 3. All information about factions and the names and SD and SMB and RFLD, I leave that up for part 1 because of course part 1 has a pretty long intro about the factions themselves and also about what are all the symbols or what do they mean in game. But I will repeat it a couple of times, but you can look at the previous video, part 1, that I will add in the description below in this video. If I say a lot of course, well, I'm sorry about it. Not my first language, so I do my best. So let's go to the Second Republican troops for France, and yeah, I will then also show you another custom battle, so then you have an idea. So let's go. So as you can see, I play on normal. It's just a test. It's recommended to play the mod on normal or hard. Very hard and legendary will be pretty difficult. The way for example, the AI works. Well, it's not really an AI; it's an algorithm program that is created. I must say that from all the Total War games, Shogun 2's AI algorithm, let's say, is one of the best. The rest is kind of brain dead, sadly. So I have talked about it in the previous part 1 of the Dev Diary 7, that you can change its parameters. And that means that you can tweak a bit the behavior of the CPU or the AI. Personally, for me, Shogun 2 has the best algorithm for any Total War game. I've tried it to make the parameters as adjustable, so it adjusts to the way the player games. But you can see that the AI is pretty good in defense. I have noticed that mostly in offensive way, so they are attacking. It's a bit more problematic, as we are used to any Total War AI, you could say. So I am going to use the tier 2 Republican troops. As you can see, I don't have any custom generals yet. I only have them for tier 1, except Liberal Spain. So you can see that most of the units are the same, especially with cavalry. So let's take them all again. It's not really a change. You can see that if in game later on that the cavalry didn't change that much, but at tier 3 they will change. They will pretty change, yes, because Napoleon III reformed his imperial army because this is Republican troops. So the army got pretty reformed in the 1852s after 1852, but most of it is the same. Siege guns, not going to take them, but as you can see they're all the same. Smoothbore guns, bronze. Most of the guns were bronze smoothbore guns until 1850s, 60s even. So you can see that the units are pretty similar to the tier 2 French July monarchy. There will be few changes. Probably the hats or the shakos are a bit different than the July monarchy one, but you can see that mostly all the uniforms are the same. You can also see that in the way we have the arts, that the historical art that you can find. It really shows that there were not so many changes towards the uniforms going from the 1848 revolution. So last time I took a howitzer, 24 pounder and 9 pounder, so now I will take a 12 pounder howitzer and a 12 pounder normal gun. So they both are not horse field guns. So they can walk, but they can't run, you could say, on the battlefield. Let's take another faction. So now we'll take Spain, as you have not seen it yet. So as you can see, the only tier 1 I still have to make custom generals, but I will do this after I completed the Dev Diary 7. You can see also that most guns are standard. I made a standardization for the game, not to make it too you could say difficult to understand, because I mean I do know, and I talked about that in the previous video, that not all weighting metrics were the same in every country. The French had the French livre, they were not the same as the English pound. So I just made a general pound system based on the British system, you could say, just not to be too confused. Otherwise, if I put it in French, it will be so confusing for the player. So I just made one standard. You actually see that the same in Napoleon and Empire Total War, where CA mostly used the UK standardization, for example, for ships. So you got like a brig, a sloop, a frigate, and whatsoever, and that's how I also want it for the game. Otherwise it just becomes really confusing, especially in later games. So I'm just giving them equal amount of units, and yeah, I also have to give them guns. I will give them static guns. I mean, you could give them. Let's give them. Last time we gave them a 64 pounder cannon static. Those are siege guns. I talked about that in my previous video, so you can look at there. So let's give them a 48 and a 42 pounders, pretty big guns. As you all can see, they are all summer uniforms. All the custom battle maps made for the mod, they're all based on the climate maps. So if you play in summer or spring, you need to use summer uniform. Otherwise, if you use winter uniforms, it will give you a big issue. So because they will get like lower fatigue, I mean more fatigue, and that means it will affect their morale, so they will fight worse, you could say. I will take another one. We took the cornfield. We could take farmlands. Okay, let's take farmlands. Yeah, okay, sorry, I just had a phone call. Apologies for it. And let's check if everything is okay. Let's start the game. Now this map so here we have the farmlands map. It's a custom map also. Just want to showcase a bit of it. So these buildings are garrisonable, so you can actually go inside. I will show it to you later before we're going to walk forward to the enemy. So it's a bit the same as a cornfield, except that those cornfields, I mean, are a bit smaller, just little small farms. But they're pretty cool in defense if you ever play in multiplayer battle. If you have an MP mode, because the Carlist Wars will be only single player, because it's built around the battle AI parameters. To add realism just doesn't really work for this algorithm that the game, I mean the Total War AI has. I mean it's just too difficult, sadly. So but we are going to make in the future an MP mode that is based actually on this story and others, of course. But you can garrison it if, for example, the AI starts attacking you, so to give you an extra help. So here we also have a farm with some corn in the middle, and here you can garrison your, let's go inside. Yes, the floor is a bit inside, probably because there's a small elevation here, but you get the point. So here we have a path with some trees, so you can just go towards the town here. So this is like a blueprint of some siege maps I'm going to make, like level 1 siege maps, when they're just towns, not really cities, you could say. So yeah, this is not garrisonable. They're just all imported from Napoleon Total War. They're like Mediterranean style houses, you could say. Okay, so here you also have a farm. It's probably going to change a bit because in here you have some wheat, like wheat, but yeah, I don't like it so much. I don't know why. Maybe I will change it in the future. And here you also can see they're all garrisonable, so you can send troops there, and they all have their own collision files. So when you shoot against the wall, then it will just go bounce off because it's against the wall, except with artillery, of course. It's something different. But you know, the units can shoot from out the windows and door, you could say here. Okay, let's just deploy the troops, and I will showcase the units.
Carabiniers, tenez la position. Cuirassiers, au rapport.
So let's go to the units first. So they are the Second Republican troops. As you can see, the flag is a bit different. I explained in the part 1 why I chose the flag. It's not the official flag, but it's been used for like a couple of weeks by the revolutionaries in February 1848. So that's why I just use it, and just to differentiate between the other French factions. So here we have the voltigeurs. So they are the Republican troops, and as you can see, they're a bit different in the way that they have different shackles, with like more of a French cockade on the front, and they don't have really like the golden plating of the French porpet. Well, I think the July had the I think it was a chicken or something, or the hen, as a symbol, but here you have just like the French cockade. But the rest of the uniforms, they are totally the same, so they're not so much changed. Here is a Fusilier of the Legion. You have seen them in the previous video. And here we have the Grenadier of the Legion, the same as previous one, and they also use percussion lock smoothbore guns. As you can see in the symbol, it says Tier 2 SD summer dress PERC percussion lock SMB. So that means, of course, that they are smoothbore muskets. Here we go to the Voltigeur of the Legion, and these are the skirmishers. Yes, indeed, skirmishers. So you see the hat is a bit different. We have the Algerian tirailleurs. They are the same as previous July Monarchy Tier 2. Here we have the engineers. They are the same, of course, as the previous one, except the shackles are a bit different. And here we have the Fusiliers. Same thing, a bit different, but except, I mean, you can say the shackles are different. We have the Zouave units, same as previously, and we have the Grenadiers. Voila. Now the cavalry is the same as previous. It didn't change that much if you see at the historical art. So yeah, as I say, sometimes for gameplay reasons it's not always possible. So yeah, this is the Hussars. You know, it only existed for like 4 years, the Second Republic, until it got changed to the Second Empire. Yeah, the cuirassiers. Here we have the guns. This is the 12-pounder howitzer, as I explained the previous video. Shorter barrel, explosive shells, of course, with a fuse. So a round ball with a fuse. Here we have the general. So it's a bit different, you could say. You know, it's a different model I used. So here you have it with his mustache, and has, of course, the telescope, as we know. And you can see the animation again, where they're, you know, sometimes using the telescope. Here we have the 12-pounder smoothbore field cannon. As you can see again, bronze barrel, as it should be in the 1840s. And here we have the Lancers. I've showed that also they are totally the same as the previous one. And here we have the Chasseurs d'Afrique. They are also as good as the same as previous version. I mean, as the tier 2 July monarchy. So just let them, I will let them go forward a bit, and then I will just quit to go to tier 3 because I mean I will show you a bit of Spanish troops, and I think that's actually it.
The men are ready to attack, sir.
Sometimes it could lag. The reason why it can lag, it's mostly not due to the player, but mostly due to the AI. The battle AI has an issue with with the walls here. I mean, because I can jump over it. Here you can, well, I also have the same map but for sieges. So this is a battle map, and in the battle map you cannot store or put troops here. I think, I'm not sure, let me just see for, can I? Ah yeah, you can troops here. Okay, so as you can see you can put troops here to defend the walls, but as it is a field battle and you actually start on the opposite side from each other, and the one that attacks always moves forward and mostly the defender stays behind, just as the AI is doing here. Yeah, it's not really a necessity to use really these defenses, but I have the same map for sieges where you have a capture point here, so when you take that capture point you win the game. So then it is more useful because you also start around the town as a defender, so that, you know, makes things a bit cool. So maybe we can see some animations of the flute. Where is it? So here you can see the flute and the drummer being, you know, used in the animation. And here you can then also add the units in a garrison building. So I will show it to you directly. Let me see. So voila, and now that we'll just move forward. I will just show it to you. I let them run, and then I will show you the Spanish troops. It's a bit of misfire, but it's pretty normal because you know, you are walking and normally guns just shoot at a certain area, so they're more useful in, you know, when they are static. But especially field guns are useful when you're moving and when you're static. Siege guns are more useful for when you're static or static objects. So let us see how they, you know, go inside the building. Here they go. You will see it's a bit, you know, it's a lot of troops, so they all want to go inside the building. So remember, we have 400 units. So let us see. It's not perfect, but you know, it works. So it's a pretty good and nice
I fear your general is in mortal
defensible
peril,
system. So yeah, that probably should get my general guns. So here you can see them. We will go back to it if they're all inside the building. So I mean, it's pretty cool, and they shoot. Even enemy comes, they will shoot through the walls. So here you can see them from the outside. Okay, let's move to the Spanish troops, as you have probably not seen them. So here we have the so loud. Okay, thanks. These are the tier 1, remember, so they are 1830s Spanish troops. Those are the liberal troops. They are very post-Napoleonic, as most 1830 troops. So these are the grenadiers. Yeah, all grenadiers with their flag and regimental flags. Here we have the Royal Guards or the Grenadier Guards. So they are the elite units of the Spanish Liberal Army. So, yep, and they also have regimental flag and the national flag. And here we have the horse grenadiers, so they are pretty elite. You can actually compare them with the British Scots Grey, you could say. They have equal stats, so yeah. So this is the or these are the horse grenadiers of the Spanish Liberal Army, or the Isabelin troops with their flag and trumpeter. And here we have the skirmishers. So those are the light infantry of the Spanish Army, the Isabelin troops. Also here with with their green jackets and flags. Okay. And here we have the Fusiliers. They speak pretty loud sometimes, but okay. Guess they really want to fight. But here are the Spanish Fusiliers, the main line or main backbone troops from Spain. So yeah, we have for the Spanish troops mostly Fusiliers and Grenadiers as, you could say, main infantry troops. Here we have the cannons. This is a 48 smoothbore gun. So this is the the 48 pounder smoothbore gun for signals mostly, but they can be used also, especially against every kind of thing to destroy. And here you see again their own caliber. So this is a 48 pounder caliber shell, you could say. This is this is a 42 pounder. It's a bit smaller, and they reload a bit small, but as I've explained in the last video, they all have their own caliber. So yeah. Okay, these are the engineers. I think they look pretty awesome. So they're the same as the French one. They have no bayonets and they use So yeah, here we have them. So yep, here are the Isabelin troops. We have back to Royal Guards. Do we have here we have the El Generalismo, what do you call it? Is the Spanish general. Thanks. Okay, thanks. Gracias. So here we have the Spanish general. This is just a normal Spanish model, you could say. So as I said previously, they will have their own custom generals, just as the Carlists have. Here we have the cuirassiers, I think. Yep. So this is of course the elite cavalry for the Spanish army. They look a bit like the old Napoleonic style, you could say, from France, from Napoleon I's army. They really have a resemblance, but the same thing with their flag. We have the Lancers with the officer, the trumpeter. These are the Spanish Lancers, all based on some art. I think I've showed mostly, these are mostly all the Spanish units have for the moment. I explained in the previous video, but maybe because of the sound it didn't really work out, that they will get like provincial troops, because the Spanish had actually two types of armies during the first Carlist Wars, and they had the main army and they had the provincial army with their elite grenadiers and whatsoever. So they also will be added, but some of them will be just being recruited in some provinces. For example, in the north or in Catalonia, you will have maybe Catalan units or whatsoever. So that's still an idea, but I just started with some standard troops. And here we have the Cazadores. They're also light infantry
¡Atentos!
from the
Unas
Spanish
cuantas
army.
balas y se alegrarán de este descanso.
And here we have the dragoons, the Spanish dragoons. So yeah, here we have them. Moving forward, what the hell is happening? Oh yeah, they're reforming. Okay. So yeah, moving forward, I'm going to show you just here are my troops.
Voltigeur!
Okay, so yeah, it's not perfect, but yeah, I've done my best to make them garrisonable in this way. So I hope that I can add a different platform so they can go upstairs, but the problem is that the skeleton system of Napoleon is a bit smaller. I mean, they're more down, so sometimes the buildings are a bit smaller also, well, above. It's the same scale, but because the units are a bit different, so okay. So here you can see that you have a garrisonable building, so they can shoot out from those window holes. Yeah, that's what I'm going to show you. That's the the second Republican French troops, and you have seen the Spanish tier 1 troops. And this is also a custom battle map called the Farmlands. And you have them in a battlefield, as I said. So in the battlefield normal, you stand here or there, dependable. But you also have a siege battle map of the same one, where the defender starts here to defend the town, and where the enemy is actually entirely around the town. And the buildings are not garrisonable in the siege map, so only inside you can defend, because it does not make sense that you have garrisonable buildings here if you need to capture the town. So that's why I just made it a bit easier also for the AI, because the AI lags sometimes when it has to go through like some collision files where they can garrison, or where they can go over, they call it like those walls, volutable walls, where they can climb over. Sometimes it's like, yeah, it's always calculating the AI like to go over it, and that's why it can sometimes lag. But okay, enough talking, and I'm going showcase the tier 3 units. So we're back now, and I will now take the tier 3 faction. I will also take the Bourbon monarchy. As I explained in the other video, they are only custom battle faction, but they are they will spawn in some areas in France. So here you can see the difference. They are using revolvers, so that's why you have REV and rifled ones. So just, you can also see that most of the cavalry has changed, because there was a different or reform in the army. And you also have the famous Sans-Garde. Sans-Garde were the main guard of Napoleon III. There were 100 men, and you also have, at ultra settings in the unit scale, they are 100 men, because they are very elite. Now the guns are all the same, except you have now a 100-pounder Pike-Sans guns. The Pike-Sans gun are actually very famous. They were made in the 1840s already, but they were really used in the 1850s. 1840 was more of a naval part of guns. They were pretty heavy guns, and they were the first smoothbore guns that could shoot explosive shells. naval. I mean, the Russians used them very well at the Battle of Sinop as a prelude to the Crimean War. The French also used them also, but not as much as the Russians did at the Battle of Sinop. So they used them, I think, in the first Mexican intervention. It was, I don't know when it was it 1830s or 40s? I don't remember actually. But this is where they also used explosive shells, but not as much as the Russians did at the Battle of Sinop. It was so devastating for the Ottoman Navy, it just destroyed it entirely. And this is where most of the European powers started to think of switching from wooden plates towards more armored plate ships because of the Pikesan gun. Now in the United States, they are more famous with the Dahlgren gun. The Dahlgren gun is actually an evolution on the Pikesan gun. The same gun actually, but more of a evolution of the Pikesan gun. Now they were, because they were pretty heavy in caliber, you could say, they, on ships I mean, they, you needed bigger ships. Not all ships could have those guns on the deck, you could say. So the ships had to become bigger to actually use one of those guns. So yeah, you will not see them, at least you will not see them in game with like little ships, like really huge guns with little ships. Yeah, I don't think that's going to work, but it's an idea for the future. But this is a 100 Pikesan gun, so it's a 100 shell it shoots. So it's a big gun, you could say. So I will show it to you. It also has a different sound, and the particle effects also a bit different. So most guns shoot like white smoke that comes out of the muzzle. Now with this one, it's more like darker smoke and a different, like a hotter gun sound. So here you can see, here we have changed completely the way the army is. So here we have more elite units because he didn't only had the legionnaire troops, but he also had the elite troops that Napoleon III used from his uncle, Napoleon I. So he reintroduced the Imperial Guard brigade, or regiments you could say, within the French army. So they were their own corps actually. So the Grenadier Guard, Voltigeur Guard was re-added from his uncle, except a bit different in style, but similar, and the Zouave guards. Here I switched from the normal engineer to the guard engineers. They are not the same units, they're a bit more elite, and yeah, they are guard engineers. So the let me see, the only gun that got changed is here. This is the famous Napoleon gun. So in the 1850s, the Imperial French Army actually created a special gun called the gun howitzer. So the gun howitzer was, you could say, an in between a gun, a cannon, and a howitzer. So what was useful for the Napoleon gun, because Napoleon really liked the gun, and then they named it after him, of course, the Napoleon gun. It was a smoothbore bronze gun. At the initial, there were some guns. I'm sure a lot of American history or American Civil War history buffs, they will probably confirm it. Some were made as iron cast muzzle ones, but it looks like that the iron cast ones weren't as good as the bronze one, so that's why I just kept them bronze. I'm not going to use iron cast, and mostly the French used muzzle loaders, bronze ones, until the Franco-Prussian War even. Now you will see with another video in tier 4, most guns will switch to rifled guns. That is just to make it a bit easier, as I said again previously, to make a standardization in the guns. Otherwise it just becomes really confusing to make like different guns of different nations and with different calibers and whatsoever. So I just standardize it that way. So the 12-pounder Napoleon gun is the only one that has it's a horse field gun actually, and the reason why is because It was pretty light, a pretty light gun. That's why it was so favorable by the Union and the Confederates to use Napoleon gun, because it was light but it was strong to actually shoot a 12-pounder shell. It could, because it was a gun howitzer, it could shoot a shell, and it could use just normal solid shot, a round ball. Now in this case, the normal in the Carlist Wars, the Napoleon gun will use a shell, so a more modern shell as the mini ball. So you will see it in game. I will show it to you. But let's take just the Napoleon gun, and maybe we can take an 18-powder smoothbore field cannon. Now the tier 3 uses rifled muskets. So here we are going to see where it really goes to pop up, and by that I mean that the damage of muskets will be much more stronger, more powerful. So you will see it now, and again I'll show it to you. So because they are using it's rifled barreled smoothbore musket, not smoothbores, damn it, those bloody names always. They have like rifled muzzle loaders. But they are using a special bullet called the mini ball. It was invented in the 1840s, 50s, beginning 50s by a certain colonel called Minier, and he actually reintroduced or introduced that special bullet. It was much more accurate at longer ranges, and because your barrel was rifled, it was even much more accurate. So yeah, it's going to be pretty cool. So here you can see are the Bourbon faction. It's tier 1 because I didn't made it tier. Well, the Bourbons will have only tier 1 units. Guys, sorry, I just keep it historical. It just does not make any sense to have Bourbon 2 or 3 tiers. It just does not make any sense. I know maybe for gameplay reasons it will be cool to see like a royalist troops from the 1850s or whatsoever, but yeah, I just keep it that way. So let's just take King Charles the 10th. Here we'll use a 36 and a 32-pounder smoothbore guns. You will notice that actually the French Bourbon or Bourbon, whatever you call it, in French is Bourbon, that are very similar to the post-Napoleonic troops. If you look at the art of that time, they really had the same color scheme that actually Napoleon I was using in his troops. It's actually pretty special. So they were using white trousers and very in bluish color of how you call it, sweater, you could say, a frock coat, like a coat, so blue color coat. So it's very post Napoleonic. That's the amount. I know I have more men and cannons, but it's just for a showcase. So let's select another map, and those are the lakes. The lakes have bridges. It's pretty cool because those bridges are taken from the North and South mod too. So all credit to Primergy. He actually made those bridges. So I didn't make it. So all credit goes to him and his team or mod he made North and South too. So just wanted to tell that. So all credit will be given when the mod is out. A lot of wonderful people helped me for the sound, for example. Arcanas helped me actually to create new sounds for guns and for muskets and whatsoever based on the projectile. So all credit goes to him because he's the one that actually found it out and investigated. So I just copied pasted from him, so all credit goes to him. So again, I use summer. It's just for an example. As I said, if you use winter, you have to use winter dress. I mean, you can use summer dress also, but it will have an effect in game. So your units will have a much lower morale because of the fatigue they actually get. So okay, here we have another map called the Lakes. This is also a custom battle map. It's just kind of canals and lakes, and here you can see the bridge from North and South mod. They all work, so you have to cross them. I have tested them a couple of times because it was pretty difficult to actually get them to work. I don't know why it's... Yeah, sorry. So yeah, it it was a bit difficult to get them to work, but it all works. So as you can see, it's a low land, but you have a forest. I mean, you have a lot of forest, especially in the middle. So if you are defending, you have a pretty big advantage, and that's in most Total War games, not always, but you could say that mostly you have a big advantage because it slows you down, a forest, and you also have scrubs, so it slows you down also a bit. So let's just deploy our troops and I will showcase them.
Voltigeur! Voltigeur!
Garde du corps. Quels sont vos ordres? Hussards!
Les hussards attendent de se couvrir de gloire, monsieur.
Carabiniers! Carabiniers! À vos ordres! Garde à cheval!
Cuirassier, garde à vous. Bataille, c'est savoir se battre.
À vos ordres. Quels sont vos ordres?
So now I deploy them, I will show you the units. Let's start with the voltigeurs again.
Quelques balles, et vous regretterez ces moments de repos.
Maybe I have to put them a bit behind because with the yellow lines a bit annoying.
Voltigeur! Voltigeur!
Nous reculons, monseigneur. À vos ordres.
Okay, let's go back to the voltigeurs. So this is the Imperial Army. As you can see, it has the eagle, the Imperial, the Imperial French eagle, and here you have, of course, the Imperial French flag of Napoleon III, very reminiscent with the one of his uncle. So here we have the voltigeurs. I mean, you can see they have, they are different. The shackles are a bit smaller. You can also notice that the guns that they are using is a percussion lock, of course. You can see the lock itself, and they are actually using the Minier pattern 1851. So this one was the rifled musket that they used in the Crimean War. They had also like some different versions of it, like later ones in the 1860s that they used in the Mexican invasion, you could say, where they also used the Minier musket, but different version of it, like they improved it as some stuff. So they are using also the projectile that comes out of the muzzle is not a ball anymore, but it's really a mini ball, so it's not anymore a round ball. They cannot use bucking ball. I mean, it makes sense that you don't need it. Bucking ball plus having round balls or a palette in a rifled musket actually could destroy the rifle. So that's why. But they are a bit different, as you can see. So, you know, let's go to the next one. Here are the Fusiliers of the Legion. You know, they have more of a forage cap style than a Shako. You know, but this is going to be, you know, the style of the 1860s, especially with 50s also, where they were using more of forage caps than Shakos. But here you can see a bit of a, you know, of a difference. So this is the Foreign Legion, but
Garde à vous!
the Fusiliers, yes,
Quelques balles,
the
et vous
Fusiliers.
regretterez ces moments de repos.
So you can see also that the equipment is different and whatsoever. Here we have the Grenadiers of the Legion with the flag, the flutist, and you can also see that the backpack knapsack, or how they call it again, the backpack has been changed to a more of accurate version of that time. Here we have the which one is this one? The Voltigeur of the Legion. Previously we have seen the Voltigeurs themselves, and now we have the Voltigeurs of the Legion. So they are elite units, and you can also see that a bit of their, you know, the hairstyle. I mean, facial hair has, you know, you have a mix between beards and mustaches. Especially the French were in love with mustaches. That was the style of that time. And the next one is the Zouaves of the Guard. So they are the Imperial Guard Zouaves. They're a bit different. They are the elite units, but then Zouaves, same equipment. But you can see also even they have been changed, more like beard styles and whatsoever. So yeah, and the officer is a bit different. You know, all based on art that I could find, and some people have sent me, so that I could use, of course. So these are the guard Zouaves. Here we have the Voltigeur guards. So this is of course based, I say again of course, okay, this is a resemblance to his uncle, Napoleon I, where he took over a bit the young guard, middle guard and old guard, and this is the the guard Voltigeurs. The only difference is here they have red pants, so the style is a bit different, but you know, they are a bit different. This is the summer uniforms. I'm not showcasing the winter uniforms. I think that's up to all of you to you know, to see it yourself. So the flag, and okay, let's move forward. And maybe some people will like this one. This one are the Imperial Guard Grenadiers, the old guard for Napoleon I, but these are the, you know, the Grenadier Guard of the French army under Napoleon III. Very, you know, it's very reminiscent to the old guard of Napoleon. Mustaches, and you know, did my best for making it as accurate as I can. I'm not a perfect modeler and texture. I'm sure other people can do it much better, but you know, you have to understand also that most models are very low poly and have a lower texture resolution. This makes the game run better on a lot of GPUs, and I can also, because of that, I can increase the amount of units on the battlefield without having any weird lags that has to do with graphical issues. The lags that sometimes come are mostly the fault of the battle AI, because the battle AI calculates the entire field, walls, collisions, and that's why you could have problems with lags. So it's nothing to with the graphical. So here we have the skirmishers. You know, they're a bit the same, but you know, different with the eagle, and Shakos are a bit smaller to, you know, represent the time frame of the 1850s. Here we have the Algerian tirailleurs. You can see that that didn't change that much. Some few things here and there, more beards you could say, and here you have the flag. Here we have the engineers. So this is the Imperial Guard engineers. So yeah, they are like the engineers, same thing, except they're a bit more elite, you could say.
Garde à vous!
Oh,
Une bataille, c'est savoir se battre,
yeah,
mais aussi savoir attendre.
we speak so loud, bloody. Okay, it doesn't matter. If you're playing a game, it's not really.
Garde à vous! Quelques balles, et vous
Okay, this
regretterez
is the
ces moments de
Imperial
repos.
Guard Genie or engineers. Here we have the Fusiliers. This is the main army for Napoleon's III's army, Imperial Army. So with the Minier musket here. Here we have the Zouaves. They don't change a lot either, except the beards and whatsoever. And you can also see that most of units have frock coats. They're not using normal coats anymore. So that's also mostly the style from the 1850s, 60s, 70s even. So here we have the Grenadiers in summer dress, so they all have frock coats and other stuff. Now we go to the cavalry. Those are the chasseurs d'Afrique. They are a bit different, as you can see at the shako and uniform, but they are pretty the same as previous tier 2 ones, except some changes in whatsoever. So these chasseurs d'Afrique, and they also use the mini pattern 1851 carbine musket, you could say. I mean, maybe it's not 1851 pattern, maybe it's a different pattern, don't remember. Here we have the carabinier. I do know that they have even had the guard carabinier, but I'm not reintroducing that, so I make it a bit simple as a standardization for, as I said in previous video, to make it a bit more standardized. So here are the carabinier. They're a bit different, different like boots and whatsoever, but some changes have.
Tu connais la dernière entre leur général et un
the eagle
poulpe?
here. Here we have the famous Sans-Garde. This is really the elite of the elite. I think the most elite and heavy cavalry of the game for the moment, at least. So these are the 100 guards of the French army, and you can also see that all the horses are like dark brown black horses, because they were always using black horses, a bit like the Scots Grey. Scots Grey were using only like grey horses or white horses, so they were only using black horses. It is actually black, but because of the shader of the sun, it looks like it's a bit like brownish, but it's black. So here you have the Sans-Garde.
Gorgée de cognac, sergent.
I think they
Ça
look
évite
pretty
les
cool.
tremblements.
On me l'a souvent dit.
Okay, these are the elite cavalry. Here we have the guns.
Bataille, c'est savoir se
This
battre,
is the
mais aussi
famous
savoir
Napoleon
attendre.
gun, 12-pounder smoothbore bronze barrel, and they're horse drawn, so you can run with that gun. Yeah, they were pretty light, and they shoot 12-pounder shells, explosive shells, so it's pretty interesting. And this is the artillery units. As you can see, they're a bit different, but a bit same uniform and whatnot. And here we have the big guns. It's the 100-pounder pikes and gun. Those are actually naval
Garde à vous!
guns.
Quelques
But,
balles, et vous regretterez ces moments de
I mean,
repos.
you can see of course that they are being used for sieges only. It's a really big thing. I'm just going to move them a bit more forward later on, because the elevation is a bit bad. You have to take in count that you have to have or an upper elevation where they shoot, or a straight one. Otherwise you could maybe have a problem with line of sight. So yeah, it's big guns, and you will hear them later like make a boom sound. Here we have the general. As you can see, it also reflects the time frame. Most of the bodyguards have forage caps, and the general also has changed. with a white beard. This is just a normal one. Later in time you'll have custom generals from that time, but this is the general of the 1850s. You could say also taken from art or based from some art from that time. Here we have the cuirassier. You know, they have changed a bit. Also, you can see different pants and whatsoever. So yeah, this is also the elite cavalry of the French army. Then we have the 18 pounders. So they are smoothbore guns, a bit the same as previous version. Well, actually they are all the same. Projectiles are the same. They're using just normal solid shot. So those are just bronze ones, so they're not rifled ones. From tier 4 this will change. Then all guns will change to rifled iron cast guns. Now I do know that not all of them were using iron cast. The French, for example, we're mostly using bronze barrels still, but as I said, I use it for standardization. Otherwise it's a lot of work, sometimes for nothing. And okay, so this is the 18 pounder. And here we have the lancers, the trumpeter and the officer. So these are the you know, the French lancers. And here we have then the hussars. They're a bit different than the previous ones. Here they have like a bear skin, you could say. So yeah, pretty awesome, I think. Well, okay, let's move the troops forward and let's see how it goes.
Prepare to attack, sir.
Just let them walk, so then you have if you hear the sound, it's much more heavier. You see the cloud, it's thicker, darker, you know. And here you can see they're using shells. They're not using you know, the Pikeson's guns are explosive shells, the first ones. So
À mon ordre!
let's see it later. I'm just going to move the things forward. So I'm just going to you know, showcase a bit of it. I'm going to show you, as you see they are running, and you just have to run a bit faster to go behind. But what I'm going to do with those guns is I'm going to shoot at trees so you can see them going you know, getting destroyed or even get on fire. Let's now showcase a bit the Bourbon tier 1 units. So you can see here we have the hussars with the famous white Bourbon flag. So these are the hussars, tier 1, remember? And cavalry doesn't really matter that much if they are, you could say, just normal sword cavalry lancers. The stats are pretty the same. They're moving forward, it's typical. Every time when I want to see them, they move forward. It's like really annoying. Here we have the guns. So the 32 pounder. You can see that, you know, the amount of damage they make, it's much more stronger, the 100 pounders, than normal. So let me go back because every time they reform their troops. So here we have the skirmishers, the tier 1 skirmishers. Remember, they are using, if you look, you can see that they are using flintlocks. So remember the flint SMB, flintlock smoothbore. Here we have the grenadiers. So you can see that they're very post-Napoleonic, white trousers, and they look very Napoleonic, you could say. Pretty strange coming from the Napoleonic Wars. The Bourbons are taking over even the plate, except the plate has like a bourbon plate, golden plate. So here we have the cavalry. So these are the cuirassiers, the royal cuirassiers, tier 1, of course. Yeah, cuirassier. Here we have the voltigeurs of the royal French army. Here we have the carabiniers, so the royal carabiniers. Here we have the Swiss army, the Bourbon royal army, royal kings actually reverted back to the famous Swiss mercenaries. Now in when Napoleon III took over, you could say in the, well, not Napoleon, I'm sorry, it's actually Louis Philippe, King of the July monarchy. He actually used or put all the Swiss infantry that were under the French Bourbon monarchy, he actually put them in the Foreign Legion. So they became the second Foreign Legion. They had like green coats and red trousers. So it was actually, they call it the second Foreign Legion, but it was actually now I'm always saying actually, but it was the Swiss army under the Bourbon monarchy. But the second legion is the Swiss Foreign Legion, you could say. So, but I did not make them in game because it was just, having so many Foreign Legions. I just kept it to the first one, to the normal one, because in the end, in the 1860s, I think it was disbanded and it was just fused with the normal Foreign Legion. So here we have then the Swiss Grenadier Guard. So famously taking like their uniform a bit from the Swiss Legion, from the Versailles palace that actually got killed at the, well, not Versailles, at the Tuileries. So they took over a bit, that dress style. Here we have the Lancers. So this is the Bourbon Lancers. They're shooting the cannon. This means I'm getting closer. Here we have the King's Guard. So those are the best troops from the Royal French Army. King's Guard, also bearskin. And here we have the Dragoons. Very reminiscent to the ones of Napoleon again. So the Dragoons with their like tiger or leopard frame, you could say. Those are the Dragoons. Here we have the Swiss Fusiliers, same thing. So they were, as I said, disbanded, but they were fused in the second Foreign Legion in the monarchy.
Quelques balles et vous regretterez ces moments de repos.
That's also one of the reasons the Foreign Legion uses that green red flag or symbol. It actually it was from the second Legion, but they kept it as their official flag, but only later on, because mostly their regiment flag was a tricolor, so it wasn't really the red green flag. It's more of a symbol. I think it was introduced a bit later on. So here we have the engineers, same as the monarchy one.
Une bataille, c'est savoir se battre.
And here we have the Grenadier Guards. They really resemble the one of Napoleon. Again, a bit different, but they've taken a lot over from Napoleon I. So the Royal Grenadier Guard, not the Imperial Old Guard, but they really look like that. So Okay, and here we go to the Fusiliers. So here we have the Royal Fusiliers. We are French Army. Now just let's go back to look at the 100-pounder gun and the shell. Here we see that they're traversing the bridge, as you can see. They can't traverse. They can't traverse the water, so you have to cross the bridge. So yeah, you know that.
À vos ordres.
Let's unlimber it. 18-pounder. Let's. Oh, the bastard shoot my 18-pounder. Yeah, if you don't see it, you see I already lost a gun. So they all have their destruction animation and whatnot. So let's go back to the 100-pounder. Okay, this one. So here we're going to see the calibers. Here you can see it's a shell. You see, it's not anymore a round ball, but a explosive shell. So those are the ones that you're going to see from now on, starting at tier 3 until the later time. So it's not anymore a round ball, and the projectile is a shell. So everything is specially made for the mod. So you have an idea. Makes a lot of sound. Okay, this is the Napoleon. Okay, now I'm going to show you something you probably have seen before. Sometimes the game has that issue. So where some guns turn and others not. I have no idea why it sometimes happens, but you know what you do is you have your cavalry or units, it doesn't matter which one, and you just run across it. So now I run across it, and then the guns by itself, they will turn. I have no idea why it causes that issue, but sometimes you have that bug that for one reason the guns don't turn. I have seen that the battle AI sometimes have that issue also, but they fix it pretty fast. Pretty slow. Oh yeah, of course they're heavy cavalry. It's strange for running so slow. So you run, and what happens is they will.
Garde à vous!
You see, they're turning the guns, turning the guns, turning the guns. See, this is how you fix when you have that issue. It doesn't matter if it's cavalry or just land units. Doesn't really matter. Let's put them there. Okay, let us just give an example and shoot. Oh, we can't shoot. Can we shoot a bridge? But it's indestructible normally. Let's shoot a tree. So I've told you that we also introduced like custom trees. Oh, that's 18 powder. And the 12-pounder is going to shoot this one. So the 12-pounder Napoleon is using shells. So remember, they're using explosive shells. Same animation with the fire stick, you could say, or the fuse stick. And they also shoot with an arc because they're gun howitzers. Here you can see. Yes, you see here they also have shells. So they're not using round balls. Going to see the trees. Actually, can hit it or not? Let's see about that. Are they moving forward or not?
Devons-nous nous préparer, Seigneur?
Arrêt aux ordres.
Prends nom de cet homme. Son uniforme est huant.
And here you can see, guys, that with an explosive shell, it just get destroyed, of course, and you can put it on fire. So the tree is now on fire. It's pretty cool. Let me see. So the 18-pounder is going to shoot this one. This tree also have been destroyed because a lot of his leaves have been destroyed, so I think it's pretty cool. You see the trees are on fire, so you have many trees, so yeah, it can be some smoke, and it's pretty cool. Okay, let's see when our units are getting forward. Are they moving forward? I got the feeling they are. Oh yeah, they are. Okay, interesting.
Compagnie en ligne, préparez-vous. Carabiniers!
Partially of the AI sending troops on the other side to go towards my flank. It looks mostly elite. Oh no. Oh, they're pretty smart. Okay. These are voltigeurs. Okay. Yeah, right, the cavalry in front of me. Pretty funny. Okay, you just shoot. I mean, of course, I am in a forest, so the damage level is a bit lower, you could say. I'm going to probably, you know, cavalry is not really good either. Rifled muskets, so yeah, I mean, they really are deadly, so. I mean, it's just a showcase, so. You can see it's, you know, you have some hills and whatnot. So it can slow down by a lot. Here we go, right in my rear. Yeah, that was stupid. I retreat, right? Okay.
Tirailleurs! Bien gardez prête.
These are the grenadiers. Oh, we're doing mule fire. Interesting. You know, defense, the AI is pretty good. You know, it's actually just more tactics and whatsoever. The attacking is a disaster.
Your general is under attack.
Oh crap! They're fighting me. See, if you don't look up very well. Just move your troops here. best tactician here. Okay, that's they're using rank fire, it looks like. Yeah, they're using rank fire. Both of them are near. This is strange. I've never seen them before. They both are near. Okay. They're using rank fire. Awesome. That's something. Of course, we are in the forest, so yeah, I mean, no, it does hold projectiles, so you have collision files. So, you know, you see, can I shoot those guys? No. Good to see the, you know, royalist gracias. I also have seen that the blood spatter has been, you know, changed a bit, like more of a natural look. Also took away this blood splatter because it's really annoying personally. And also the you know, swords and whatnot, they also get like blood splatter, so they have more realistic way. Let's see if we can switch some gears. I'm going to shoot like this. Against my the guards. It's my best. Bloody bastards. And we have units also, and these are dragoons, of course. Using rank fire. Yeah, I mean, that's what I like about this AI, at least, that in most, you know, of course I give them a lot of, I've changed some parameters, but in defense the AI is pretty good. In offense it's, yeah, it's really, you know, stupid, but defense is, you know, it's one of the best AIs. I hear you, look, back the tree on fire. Remember, we are in a, you know, a forest place or a wooded place, so it's, you know, it's pretty annoying, sadly. So yeah. How much is it? 100 pounder? I killed 32. Of course, we are in the forest, so it's a bit. This is the. Okay. Oh, I have destroyed all the guns. My 100. Oh, except one. That's true. I mean, yeah, they're all destroyed by the 100-pounder gun. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So yeah, I think that's what I wanted to show you, guys. Yeah. So here we got the tier 3 units. Against tier 1 ones. Now here. I mean, we are in a forest place, so it has to, but you know, they are losing more men. So, you know. Okay, this is what I wanted to show you guys. Yeah, I hope you had some fun with it and you have learned some stuff. If you have any comments, of course, you know, post the comments below always. I'll post this in this video in some days. And then part 3 will come with the tier 4 units and maybe tier 5, I'm not sure, it depends how long the video is because this video is already pretty long. So, you know, and then I also can show you some, you know, other cool custom battle maps. So okay, this was it. Yeah, next time will be another video, the part 3 video with the tier 4 at least. Then maybe the video is a bit shorter, and then you know the tier 5, because the tier 5 also has two categories. We have the Second Empire, the 1870 army of the famous Franco-Prussian War, and the 1870 plus army, the Third Republic, where you have the most advanced technology yet in the game. And also will show you with that one, I don't know which part it will be, but there I made already like tier 6, 7 and 8 machine guns. So yeah, I will also show them then to you, so you see their destruction level. Thank you for everything guys, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye.